Hi, in this series I would like to talk about different virtual jobs that you can do. COVID-19 has not only showed us that it is possible, but also it opened our eyes to new opportunities. There are several benefits of having a virtual job. You can work from anywhere, your home, a park, a cafe, as long as you have an internet connection. You don't have to waste time commuting to your work. And you can choose your own rate and your own flexible schedule. If you are a stay-at-home mom, a digital nomad, or you just prefer saving some time on commuting, then virtual jobs might be perfect for you. Today, I will talk about virtual assistant and administrator jobs. And I've also interviewed Julie Taylor, who is a co-director of Blue Ninja Business Support. And she will also talk about these type of jobs and what kind of skills you need, and also about her business model. So please stay tuned. Technology and internet have permitted to break the barrier of time and distance. Already in the early 90s, some of the people were working remotely, scheduling meetings and organizing day-to-day activities. Salaries vary from country to country, and you can also choose if you want to be paid per hour or if you want a fixed schedule, an 8-hour workday. But sometimes it's even less. It all depends on how much your client requires. And the requirements here are, well, you should have at least a high school diploma. Some employers might require also a bachelor's or associate's degree. And the skills, well, of course, you have to be able to work independently. And you have to have strong interpersonal skills, as well as computer skills such as Microsoft Excel, Word, PowerPoint, Google Sheets. You have to be very organized and manage multiple projects and deadlines. So let's talk with Julie and see what she says about these jobs. Hi everyone, today we have Julie Taylor, who is a businesswoman. She's passionate about process and procedures and continuous improvement and fixing things long term. She has a background of administration, export sales, and she spent 14 years working in banking during the financial crisis in 2 of the 4 largest banks in the UK, and used to change throughout her career. From her hometown in Yorkshire, she spent 13 years in Edinburgh, and now, along with fellow process warrior Louisa Stewart, she is a co-director for Blue Ninja Business Support, a partnership based in The Hague, Netherlands. Every business needs a ninja. Hi, Julie. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for having me, Alina.
Thank you for joining me here today. Julie, as I already introduced you, but I would like to hear from you. Can you tell us a little bit how you got where you are? How come you ended up in the Netherlands?
Okay, so my husband got himself a job over here. We've been here nearly 2 years. And I was lucky enough to meet my business partner through Facebook. So I was trying to decide what to do with myself, being a trailing spouse, try something new. So we met and talked, and yeah, it's been onwards and upwards since then.
Oh, great. So when did you start your business?
So we started in January 2019, and we worked on clients that came through word of mouth from Louisa. She used to be a virtual administrator, and it was her business name that we took forward. So that we had a really good year last year, and this year's been a bit bumpy, along with other people, things being postponed or pushed out until we get a bit more certainty how things are going to be. But yeah, we had a really good first year, and getting to know each other and where our complementary skills were.
Well, that's great. So tell us a little bit about the concept. What is your business concept?
Okay, so we are process ninjas. We believe that every business needs a ninja. So we have actually 4 types of ninja. We have a project management ninja, a process management ninja, a virtual assistant. We've actually changed this slightly and made it virtual administrator, which we're calling a VA plus. So instead of just doing your standard email management, calendar management, it's more about the value add and improving things. And then our 4th ninja is a reporting ninja, just to check how things are going.
Oh, that sounds great. I love that you have this concept of ninjas. And who
Yeah.
came up with the concept? Whose idea was it?
Well, it sort of evolved over time. We spoke last year about being process warriors, really keen to fix things long term. And then this year, we've been lucky enough to have a coach that's paid for by the government. And also during this COVID time, we've had a project team, Project Horizon, who are based locally, and they are marketing guys, very well versed in marketing, and has helped us sort of segment what we do. Rather than we telling people all the things we could do, is trying to break it down into 4 easy chunks for
Mhm.
ninjas.
Oh, nice. What about clients? So you said that your first year was really good. So can you share with us what works for you? How do you find clients?
Well, have been through word of mouth, which is excellent. You know, when I look for something, I ask around for recommendations, which is great. So yeah, the first year were all people that knew Louisa previously or knew of somebody who knew Louisa. So that was excellent. And due to it being 2 of us, we could take on bigger, more complex pieces of work. We've tried really hard to break into the Dutch market. The language barrier is still there, even though they are very excellent English speakers. But when you get down to the sort of nitty gritty, you probably want to speak in your mother tongue. That's totally understandable. So we did have our first Dutch client, but unfortunately we had to postpone due to the virus, because they were impacted significantly, and also a small business. So yeah, so we're still looking around at opportunities, you know, not just in the Netherlands, not just back in the sort of easier markets that we know, is to just look a bit further forward, maybe a bit more towards the Far East or something. As long as the time zone works for us. We have worked with clients that have been based in the US, and you just have to work accordingly. Yeah, we're happy to work with anybody.
Oh, that's great. And you mentioned this virus, right? The COVID-19. So I think COVID-19 has taught us that we can work remotely, right? If before we had to go to the office and work from the office, now most of the jobs, not all, of course, but they can be done remotely at home. How do you think this will change the future of jobs in general?
Yeah, it was quite difficult to explain to people what a virtual assistant, any sort of virtual assistance online was prior to the virus. You know, people like to be in the same room, have that one-to-one connection. And I think for, you know, some people it's been a real challenge and changed the way they've had to think. Hopefully for us going forward, it's going to be an advantage, because it's made it clear to people you can't always be in the same room, you can't always work with somebody in the same town, city, country. So why don't you widen, you know, your horizons and look for the right skills and person for the job, rather than thinking, oh, they're not local to me, I can't just pop in to see them. You know, it's great to have that first interaction. I'll never sort of, you know, get away from that, and we hope to, you know, sort of physically see all our clients at some point. I'd love to come over to Mexico City at some time and meet you. But again, it's just like we've made that connection and we've never physically met. So I think there's real value in that. So yeah, I think it's going to be a good thing for us going forward. We just need people to, you know, look a bit wider.
Yes, of course. And do you think people will go back to normal after all the lockdowns are done, after all this COVID crisis is behind us? Do you think people will go back to their normal lives?
I don't think so. You know, I've heard people refer to it as the new normal. People have got some benefits out of this, which has been home working. You know, some people, take my husband, for example, it's not been a thing he's enjoyed previously. But once he's got into the flow of it and realizing that, you know, you can still deliver, you just need your space set up, you know, your peace and quiet, or you know, relaxing music, whatever works for you, that a lot of people have enjoyed it. So they're not going to necessarily go back to the 9 to 5 grind, a long commute. And if you can deliver as good, if not better, from home, then why ask lots of people to come and populate an expensive building in a city when you can get the same amount or more from them working from home?
Yeah, I think you're completely right. I think it's going to change a lot on how people work. Let's talk a little bit about virtual assistants. So you mentioned that also one of your services that you provide are virtual assistants or / administrators, right?
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about what would be a day-to-day job of virtual assistant? How does it work?
So I think, first of all, people need to realize there's something that they're not enjoying, they're finding hard work or taking up all their time. So it might be the amount of emails they get, managing the diary. It might even be phone calls and way of managing that. So once somebody's realised that they could do with a bit of help with organising their time, they can speak to us and we can work with them to get somebody to assist them. So it could be what I've mentioned there, or it could be setting up meetings or travel arrangements. There's so many things, we can get a virtual assistant to help people with. And then hopefully within time, you get a bit settled and get a bit of a rhythm in place. And then, maybe you don't need our services so much, but then we can look at other things about how they work as a team, systems they use. And sometimes things have just been, historic, that people have always done it one way, so they just carry on doing it the other way. And, we always recommend, we always work with the client on what they've got, or we'll recommend things that we've used. We're not selling software, we're not selling something that's not fit for purpose. We just want to use what we have and use it well. So I think once you get a virtual assistant in and you get a nice relationship going and a good way of working, then we can look at building on that and looking at further improvements. But I think one of the key things of working with us is we've got the skills, knowledge, and we've got a network of people we know, but also you're not employing a full-time person. You engage with us, you might want us 40 hours one month, 10 another, and then something else happens. And, as long as we've agreed that up front, we're as flexible as you need us to be.
What is the difference between a virtual assistant and someone who comes to my office? Like, why would I hire someone who's virtual?
Yeah. I think it's the expertise. So people like a relationship, that's fine, and you can have a relationship over the phone or over video calls, as we've realised through this period is just more and more frequent. I think it's about things should be online. So if whether it's your filing structure is not quite great or up to scratch, or you've got all sorts of things all over your drive, is somebody looking at it objectively, remotely, and maybe challenging you a little bit to say, oh, you've got 29 notebooks or things printed off, they need to be scanned, they need to be somewhere that everybody can access. So maybe it's an evolution of, if I came into your office, I could just see paper everywhere, whereas I'm challenging you to think a bit more sort of long term, of putting things online, and then we'll work with you to make sure that's structured in a good way you can find things. So I think it's the objectivity of being sort of outside of the culture sometimes, is just bringing best practice and bringing tools and techniques.
And let's talk about the skills. If you want to become a virtual assistant or administrator, what will be the skills? What are the requirements? Do they have to go to and study? Do they have to have a university degree? What about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the interesting difference between myself and Louisa. Louisa did go on a virtual assistant course, and another contact we have working with us also went on that course, and she got quite a network through that. So that's one route through it. Or it can be just a build-up of your knowledge over time. We actually complement each other, because she's got, an NGO background and this sort of structured VA knowledge, whereas I come at it a bit more angle of corporates, how to deal with people, project management, changing in deadlines constantly. So I think the two work well together. So I think you need to have, I think business experience is the main thing. Whether you've got a certificate to go with it is great, but you need to have been there, done it, and seen it really, rather than have it in theory.
Great. Well, Julie, before we leave today, I would like to ask you. So obviously you lived a wonderful life, very exciting life. When you moved to the Netherlands, I mean, you're in a different country. What would be your advice to people like you, or something that you've learned from this life? What could you share with us?
Lessons learned. I don't know. There's quite a few. I'll probably just say, it's a bit of a tricky question. I'd probably say be yourself, draw on your strengths, communicate with people, stay in touch with people. Sometimes you feel like wherever you network, say it's LinkedIn, it can be a bit of a scroll and it's just like, oh, I'll connect to them because they've got an interesting job title. I've really enjoyed networking online. That's been great. I mean, we met, it wasn't quite networking, but we've met online, and I've been to some great events. People want to help each other. So all I'll say is just put yourself out there. If you're in any doubt of whether you want to go to an event or meet somebody or pick up the phone, just do it. What's the worst thing that can happen?
Yeah, I think that's a good advice. I think I'll also follow it, and I've also done it, and I think it works really well. Thank you, Julie. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate your time, and I think you gave us a lot of interesting information. Thanks a lot.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for watching this video. I hope you learned a lot about virtual assistants and virtual administrators, and I hope that you liked this video. If you liked it, please put thumbs up and subscribe to this channel.